Hi, I'm Madisyn Dove, and today we're doing a full breakdown of Wuthering Heights. There's a lot of hype around this right now, and it's interesting to me because there has been so many adaptations. I'm talking like 20 of them. Even like Japan has made an adaptation. This started in the early 1900s with a short film, so it's not new. But what is new is Jacob Elordi, so I get it. I saw this alone on opening day, and I had no idea what to expect. But I brought my notebook into the theater so that I could take notes, and here we are. If you're interested in the little vlogs from that day, they're posted on my TikTok and Instagram. Before we jump in, I will quickly introduce myself. I have a degree in film production, and I love movies.
And that's all I have to say about that.
I regularly post character outfits, makeup, girly things connected to movies, so all that is posted on my social media. If you end up liking this video at any point in time, please do give it a like and subscribe to my channel. Alright, let's get into the purpose of this video. This video is going to be structured into multiple parts, so here are the subjects I will be covering. The author of Wuthering Heights, because I don't know about you guys, but I'm always very interested in knowing about the women who write these stories. I'll be covering Wuthering Heights adaptations, the cinematography and shot breakdowns, the music, acting, and then also my final thoughts and what I think of the 2026 film. Warning. This episode contains spoilers, dramatic reactions, unnecessary analysis of lighting and costume design, comparisons to other adaptations, and one woman who studied film in college talking way too seriously about a movie. Alright, let's get into it. Okay, starting with Emily Bronte, I'm very interested in her life and who she is. I know that these stories are cliche narrative builds, but we do have to remember that these stories exist because of the people from all those times. I mean, the women that had the bravery to write things that were just so against the grain and out of the norm, and honestly, like, you'd get for it, you know? You'd be called a witch for writing about adultery. And now adultery is all over our TV shows. Now adultery is all over in movies and books and stories. I'm not saying I condone adultery. It's just, there are the reasons why these stories exist. So I did want to pull up her Wikipedia because I was looking at it earlier and I could not believe what I found out about this woman. So first of all, she did pass away when she was like 30 years old from tuberculosis. Surprise, surprise. Surprise, surprise. She is a cute girl. She looks very serious. That's for sure. It seems like she grew up pretty wealthy. She had a really good education. She could speak Italian, German, French. Even though she was born in England, her father owned a lot of property. So right off the bat, like, she's got everything that she needs, it seems like. She was really close with her sisters, from what I read. She had a dog named Keeper. A watercolor painting of him that is so cute. Oh my gosh. She attempted a teaching career, which attempted means she failed, so moving on. The part that I really want to get to is this part where it's talking about her personality and character. Wow, okay, so Charlotte's representation of Emily, I think Charlotte was her sister. Charlotte was actually so kind of disappointed in Emily's work on Wuthering Heights that after Emily died, Charlotte reshaped her character, history, and even some of her poems in a way she hoped might be more acceptable to the public. That's interesting. With the exception of Ellen Nussey and Louise de Bassompierre, Emily's fellow student in Brussels, there is no record of Emily having friends outside her family. Kind of checks out, huh? There's no evidence that Emily was ever in love or that the passionate relationships depicted in Wuthering Heights were based on personal experience. Well, we wouldn't know that if there was some dude she was hooking up with in a shack, you know? Like, this could have all been about a secret love that she had, for all we know. Just saying. Elizabeth Gaskell wrote a biography. I don't know who Elizabeth Gaskell is, but wrote a biography about her, and she described Emily as unusually tall and slim, often wearing a purple dress. She exercised an unconscious tyranny over her sisters, who nicknamed her the Major. That's weird. That's icky. That's weird. She was violent sometimes, including violently punishing her dog Keeper. That's actually really sad too. Okay, so she was weird and violent. Ugh. And when she wanted to be a teacher, thank goodness her career failed. Now for the next part. She was so absorbed in herself and her literary creations that she had little time for genuine suffering of her family. Interesting. She had anger management issues. She had aversion to social situations. And her attachment to her home may all indicate that she had a form of autism. Okay, so the girl literally wrote a book about herself. Her brother died of alcoholism and drug addiction. At his funeral, a week later, Emily caught a severe cold that quickly developed into an inflammation of the lungs and may have accelerated an existing condition such as tuberculosis. Emily had grown so thin that her coffin measured only 16 inches wide. So you're saying I'm skinny? Anyway, okay, let me give you the cliff notes of everything I just said. So this is what we know about the author of Wuthering Heights. She's very rich or well off. She has sisters. She's violent. She has a dog named Keeper who's really, really cute. But she's violent, she's lengthy and anorexic, and she also has autism because she can't handle social situations, and the violence might be attributed to it as well, and it sounded like she didn't have a lot of empathy for anybody around her. Sounds a lot like Catherine. So now that we know a little bit more about Emily Bronte, let's start talking about the different adaptations that there are for Wuthering Heights. Apparently there are like 20 adaptations, including foreign adaptations, and I have had time to watch one of them, and it is the 1992 version, and it's because I read that is the closest to the book, and I haven't read the book. I was told the book was boring, and I don't want to read the book if it's boring, waste my time, and whatever. So we jumped right into 1992, and I'm taking that as law. So right off the bat, I gotta say, I learned a lot about the full story because, hear me out, the 1992 version is an hour and 45 minutes long, give or take 3 minutes or something like that. The 2026 version is also roughly 2 hours long. The 2026 version, the entire thing with Margot Robbie and Jacob Elordi, fits into the first hour of the 1992 version. When I was watching it, I was like, wait, she's already dying? Like, how are we already here? We're only halfway through the movie. It just speeds through it. So there's an entire second half of this story that we're missing. I'm going to caveat that just because there's a difference in the storyline of the movies and the book doesn't mean that I'm saying that the 2026 version is bad. I'm just pointing out how different they actually are. So first of all, everything I'm about to reference is the 1992 version. The brother is alive. The dad and the brother are both alive. The dad does come home with Heathcliff, but the brother is totally there, and he's an older brother. The dad is nice. He brings Heathcliff home, and yeah, Catherine's excited. It's a cute little family. But then the dad dies. The dad dies, and the brother lives. And Heathcliff and Catherine are best friends. Well, from the get-go, they are totally, openly in love with each other. There's no like, oh, maybe we shouldn't be so obvious, or not even that, but like, I can't admit to you that I fully love you, or whatever it may, no, they're like, from the beginning, in love with each other. Another part with it is Heathcliff isn't really like he's dirty, he's got holes in his shirt and stuff like that, but he's not really a slave. And also I gotta say that when he comes back halfway through, he is not gorgeous or prettied up or anything. Like, the most they did for the dude is put his hair back. But he is way better looking than Jacob Elordi. So I'm gonna put that out right there. So Catherine dies. Leading up to the death, she is like, I'm very in love with Edgar. And the thing is that Heathcliff curses her pretty much in her death. When she does die, he's very sad about it, but he was so angry at her that he curses her. Anyways, so Catherine dies, just like where the 2026 version ends. But in this version, there's a Catherine doppelganger that he basically kidnaps, and he literally is a monster towards her. And in the very, very end, Catherine comes like through their bedroom as a ghost, and he like goes into the afterlife with her. It was giving Somewhere in Time vibes with Superman. Oh my gosh. It's really not that hard. Christopher Reeves. Thank you, Google. Similarities, though. Some of the similarities are like the colors, like she wears red, and the dreary moors, and the set design. As far as like the towering over of the houses and whatnot. Certainly not Edgar's house. That it was very much gold there. Those are my thoughts on the 1992 adaptation. Okay, we are moving on to the best part of this. Right off the bat, I just want to say that I do believe that the cinematography in this film was exquisite. That's one of the words that I kept telling myself. Say what you want about the story, whatever you want to say, go ahead and say it. But you can't deny that it's exquisite. A cinematographer is different than the director, guys. And so I just think it's always important to pay attention to the colors that they're using, for example. One of the first things that really caught my eye was the way that every single shot was framed. This is Heathcliff and Catherine when they're wee little babies and they're holding hands and they just love each other so much. What I've noticed is we have heavy dark space in the third, heavy dark space on the left third. The center, we're illuminated by light. Now, granted, right now, these guys, they're high contrast. You can't see their faces at all. With the use of this darkness right here, the audience gets a feeling of being swallowed. There's always a heaviness around them. The light always comes from within, a small crevice. And a lot of times, that light does illuminate their face, but it's always cool tone. You see, we've got blues here, we've got blues here, we've got blacks, a little bit of green, maybe some hints of yellow just to add a bit of normalcy to it so it doesn't look totally black and white and washed out. This happens throughout the entirety of the opening of the film, except for the opening shot. The opening shot is the only time we're in the outside world, and we're like, okay, there is an outside world. But every single shot leading up to even this moment here, they are surrounded by darkness. Now, moving on to one of the first times in the entire movie that we are seeing warmth. It was just after that moment, actually, when they were standing underneath that entryway. They come back, they knew that they were in trouble. Heathcliff takes the blame. Everything has been cool tone up until that moment when the father is sitting there at the table and the candlelight is beaming on their faces. And Catherine is looking at her father and he's so mad. And the fact that it's the first time that we're seeing warmth, it signifies that any bit of warmth that Catherine could feel from her own family is immediately tainted by her father's anger. So Heathcliff takes the blame. And they go and lay down, and that's what shot we're looking at right now. Notice here too, though, there's darkness surrounding them, even though it's in the house, but warmth is illuminating their faces. So psychologically, there's something healing about this now. And she's looking right at him. Obviously, there's concern, but it shows how much she relies on Heathcliff to feel happiness. Like, this is just the beginning. In this shot, on his back, he had just been whipped. There's blood. We immediately transition to them being adults, and she's wearing a red outfit. Everything leading up to this point has been blue, black, white, a tiny teensy little bit of warmth. She's got a little bit of red right here. That's about it. But then we transition again to red and red. And to me, it just is immediately saying these two are a sign of life and love, just through color. Another huge moment, the moment when Margot Robbie and Jacob Elordi are upstairs in that attic. She's looking down and peering down. Darkness is surrounding them. And then there was light coming from below, just shining on her face and his hands. So again, we're feeling like the only kind of warmth even the audience feels is something having to do with Heathcliff and Catherine. They create it. Their moments create the light. I do want to talk about some homages that I've noticed. I gotta say, when I saw this in theaters, I immediately knew where it was from. Can you guess? Did you guess right? Tell me. Guys, it's about survival. It's about rejection. That is what Gone with the Wind was. And in the very end, he says, frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn to her. When she's finally like, please don't leave me, after she was so unbelievably selfish. Get that little homage. The director knows what she's doing. She's got a lot of inspo. All right, we have another one that I want to point out. What does this remind you of? I know everybody must have been thinking about this one. I'll let you guess. I love you most ardently. Duh. But also, I couldn't find a shot, but I know that there's a shot when Margot Robbie, Catherine, goes out on the cliffs and she's waiting for him to come back and the wind's blowing her dress. You know where that's from? It's not actually from it, but it made me think of Liz on top of the world in Pride and Prejudice when Keira Knightley is standing on the edge of the cliff, and she's realizing, like, I actually love Mr. Darcy. She's not saying that at all, but she's realizing she needs to let go and be free. And if you guys remember this is when she's saying, she's like, I'm gonna marry him. I'm gonna marry him. Lily or whatever is like, you know, you can't go any tighter. And Margot Robbie's like, tighter, tighter. Well, this shot, which is a very common shot, makes me think of Rose and her mother, which they were kind of opposites, where her mother was like, you must marry him, and Rose was like, I don't think that I can. So, I don't know, it just made me think of that as well. One of the things that came to mind while I was watching this for the first time was, I feel like if Catherine didn't die, this would be the backstory of the Queen of Hearts, because the Queen of Hearts was selfish, the Queen of Hearts was insecure, the Queen of Hearts, which Catherine was. She had a horrible upbringing. She knew that she needed wealth in order to survive and make something of herself, essentially. And it just made me think of the Queen of Hearts. The black and white checkered flooring, the red flooring with the red dress and the white top, and the odd fixtures to the fireplace. It all just makes me think like this is the Queen of Hearts backstory, and especially her hair. When it's like pulled up like that, I was like, okay, Queen of Hearts vibes. I remember that I saw something with the director. She was talking about, she was asked, what did the red mean to you? And I think she had responded and said something about like, not just rage, but I can't remember. Anyway, to me, it's not even just like the scarlet letter. The red to me makes me think of a heartbeat. Everything in this movie feels like a heartbeat. The music has a leitmotif, which is honestly a heartbeat. And they use primary colors. That's all that they're using, except for one particular time. Here we've got red, we've got blue, and we've got yellow. That's about it. The only time that I can recall from the first time I watched it that we ever see a mixture of those colors, purple, green is obviously a mixture, but that's just like the Moors, and even then it's very diluted in the color. The only time I see purple, for example, is when Isabella is pushing her on the swing. And I think it's because there's no room for fluff here. Everything about this movie is very raw, it's very primal, and primary colors, primary, primal. And that's why, to me, I'm like, the red always being the center is the heart. There's a heartbeat. It's all just about rawness. The walls that Edgar puts together for her is literally showing a freckle on her cheek and her veins, and connecting it back to primal heartbeat. The one time Catherine seems to finally break down, she grabs for one of her most vital organs, which is her skin, and it's on the wall. And that is just she's scratching for herself. She's scratching her own skin. It's just so interesting to me, and also so interesting that they made her dead center with the freckle on the cheek for that shot. One of the other things that I noticed just overall shot wise was a lot of times they were off to the left or they were off to the right, and directors and cinematographers tend to do that in order to make the character look small compared to the world in front of them. Well, there's a lot of window space here. If it was all about her, truly, and she was talking or whatever, she's front and center. She's front and center. It's usually a medium shot meaning it's about that much. But there were so many moments like this where we see more of the vastness of the world, even from when they were kids, and it just shows just how confined she is. She's up against a window and she has nowhere to go. Again, it's always an extreme wide too. Here's another shot where there's darkness around them, but they're smiling. There's only a little hint of light still because there's sadness within these walls. There's nothing bright about it. There's nothing bright about it at all. And the one time that we do feel brightness and no vignette whatsoever around the screen, the only time that we do actually feel any kind of bit of brightness from the world, she's covered up with a veil. She's front and center. She's walking through that bright world and she's covered up with a veil. You can barely see her face because she's not happy. And we end up seeing a shot of her from the back walking towards the castle completely folded, walking back to the doom and gloom of what that castle really is. One of the biggest notes that I took down, somebody I noticed on TikTok or Instagram was confused about this, so I do want to point this out. A lot of people are wondering, why the heck was that girl chained up like a dog? You gotta go back to the beginning of the movie. When Heathcliff was standing in front of Catherine at the moors, he admitted to her that he loves her. And this was before she got married, this was before everything, and he says to her, I can follow you like a dog to the end of the world.
I can follow you like a dog to the end of the world.
He would do anything for her. So what also would he do against her? Later on, because she gets married, he goes and gets married to Fluffy Face. Great actress, by the way. She is fantastic. When he marries Isabella, Catherine says, I have named him. He is mine. So we're referencing a dog again. Then he has Isabella chained up like a dog. So that is my relatively quick breakdown of the cinematography and the shots. I don't have a lot of shots right now because a lot of them just aren't released, and I don't want to show too much that's not where I wouldn't be able to, but I thought that the setup of each shot was overall just exquisite. Now getting into the acting and the music, and I'm going to put them together just because I don't have a whole lot to say. As far as the acting goes, I wasn't blown away. I like Jacob Elordi, I like some of the things that he's been in, and I love Margot Robbie, but there were moments where with the way that they were acting, I just went, ooh, they really just did that? It was so tacky. There's a moment when Edgar is coming to ask for her hand in marriage, and she's like, I can't be with you, and then she goes to reach for the door, and Edgar goes, wait, and she goes, like that, like, I was like, what the heck?
What the hell? What the hell?
What the hell? What the hell is that going on out there?
And it was timed too soon. Like, maybe that's intentional. Like, it was timed too soon. Like, yeah, she, like, wants him to say something. She's anticipating it. But, I don't know. It just, none of that made sense to me. It felt very amateur. But at the same time, there were many, 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 many amazing moments with Margot Robbie. I just don't know that she was perfect for this role. Jacob Elordi was good, but I just think that also he wasn't great for the role. I think he was too big for it, and Frankenstein just came out, so like I couldn't get Frankenstein out of my mind, for one. And for two, like with him being so big and being so timid in his role, it just was weird. Like there's a moment when the dad is talking down to him and he goes, "Yes, sir." And also that was tacky as hell. Like why not just, I don't know, add a little violence into it? It just didn't seem right. I feel like these two characters shouldn't have been as beautiful as they were necessarily. Like they should have been more, I don't know, measly. They weren't perfect for the roles. I just wasn't convinced of their characters that they were playing. I wasn't really convinced. As far as the music goes, I actually made a video about this on my TikTok. I'm very excited about this album. I didn't really know who Charli XCX was until this came out. I heard her songs. It's one of those things where like a popular song comes out and you're just like, oh yeah, I know that song. I really, really, really did like it. There's really something to be said about music when it's crafted for a period piece and they take popular pop artists and they reimagine it. I really think that brings in younger audiences. I think it's a great marketing tool, and I think that it's going to possibly win her a Grammy. And I really do love the first song, House, featuring John Cale. First of all, I loved it before I saw the movie. And now, knowing how the movie is, it's what opens up the movie with the outside world. I think it's perfect to talk about a house when they're in the outside world. Like, even though the audience is familiar of the outside world, we don't even really get a chance to ever see it. We're always thinking about this damn house. I think that it's fantastic. I think that she did an amazing job with the album, and I'm excited to see where this is going to take her in her career. So now I want to read some comments from letterboxd and maybe even like Reddit or something, because I just want to see what people are saying, because a lot of times it's hilarious. So right off the bat, the top comment, which has 71,000 likes, Emily Bronte died of tuberculosis 177 years ago, and yet this adaptation is still the worst thing that has ever happened to her. So I'm gonna jump from a Wuthering Height. This is what happens when you let people who were born to make aesthetic Pinterest boards direct movies. I'm not a purist about adaptations, change things, reinterpret, go wild, but this version of Wuthering Heights feels less like an adaptation and more like someone skim read the blurb, then decided Emily Bronte was simply being too intense and needed calming down. The big problem is tone, or rather, the complete lack of the one Bronte actually wrote. This is a novel powered by spite, obsession, cruelty, class, rage, and emotional violence. It is feral. This film is soft, glossy, polite. It treats one of the angriest books ever written like a doomed romance you might have while half watch while scrolling. The irony is that if this film actually captured what it feels like to read Wuthering Heights, people would hate it. This is a book that's known for being uncomfortable. I don't know if that's all entirely true. I haven't read it, but I mean, everybody that I've known who's read it is like, it's boring. That doesn't mean it's uncomfortable. It looks all expensive and tasteful, which is exactly the wrong approach for a story that should feel hostile and ugly. When you dress Wuthering Heights like a gothic perfume advert, you've missed the point. Okay. I was promised a freaky ass movie and all I got are broken egg yolks. Oh man. Went into this with zero expectations. Turns out I was still too optimistic. This one is actually, I agree with this so much. The trailer freak baited me. They lured me in with a psychosexual trailer and trapped me into a normal period romance. 100% agree. That is why people were like, you brought your husband? When I came for the second time, I'm like, yeah, because when I watched it for the first time, I didn't say this because I didn't want to give anything away. It's not freaky. Let's get into my final thoughts on Wuthering Heights. Was it great? No. Was it good? Yes. Was it exquisite? The cinematography? Yes. The music? Pretty good. I would give this movie a solid 6.5 out of 10. Hear me out. It's because I noticed how many things were taken from other movies, and I understand art overlaps. Art is repeated. Making videos is repeated. There's other people out there that are making videos about this. Everything overlaps with each other, and I totally get that, but was this movie something new, something very, very exciting? No. I don't even know if I'd ever watch it again. I want to read the book so that I understand a little bit more about Emily Bronte, because I feel like I got glimpses of her. She died a year after writing the book, by the way. Do I think that this movie was like a wow factor? No, I don't. I do want to admit one thing though. I did cry in the theater at the very end. I don't know how I couldn't not cry. It's just horrible to think about people outliving each other, especially in marriage, friendships, family, anything. We outlive each other, and sometimes we don't. And that heartbreak that Jacob Elordi had, I felt that. I do think it was like a killer ending, but as far as that goes, but that's about it. This concludes my thoughts on Wuthering Heights, but I want to know what your thoughts are. Drop a comment and tell me what you think. Just because these were my opinions doesn't mean they're right. There's no right or wrong opinion when it comes to being a spectator or an audience with a movie. Everybody feels something different when watching movies. This could be your favorite movie of all time, and that's valid. If it makes you feel something and it connects to you on a deep level, that is what makes your opinion valid. So I'd love to hear what you think. If you liked this video, please give it a like and subscribe. Your support would mean the world to me, but also if you have any requests for other movie breakdowns, I am more than happy to go into that. I really like talking about color theory, shots, framing, music, actors, you name it. Thank you guys, and I'll see you in the next one.